It is warm in here, isn't it?
I thought we had there.
David, you want to get started?
Make you guys go fast.
Well, before we get started, I don't want to be defensive, but let me talk to you about this cap. All right, go ahead. Take it away.
This is for the non-defensive Jerry and Stephen on David Moore, Dallas Morning News. What's your name? Would it be fair to say your objectives going into tonight were to address the offensive line and to pick up an additional pick if you could? And if that was your objective, just the patience and discipline to be able to do that when you're at 24 to get that accomplished?
You'd like to think, from my perspective, that with the depth and the offensive line for the draft, that you could, in my view, this is just me, that you could narrow the difference between the top players and the other players, which if you can, and be satisfied that you can be a little patient, then you can pick up in lower rounds possibly a player that could do the same thing for you. Biotic, 4th round pick, Pro Bowler last year. So you can get, and that's 4th round pick. Now obviously everybody's juicy about the tops, but if you could do that when you're lacking 4th round pick, so that you could pick up a pick, then you're in a position to trade down and yet still accomplish what you'd like to do with a deep draft in the offensive line, and if you will, need. And so that's a perspective, but that did work for us there.
Can you talk this back to Telegram? Can you talk about the risk of maybe losing your guy? Clearly, you guys probably had multiple guys that when you moved down that you could have picked, but the risk of potentially losing your guy by taking a chance to getting that extra pick. And Tyler, can he played mostly right tackle in college? You talk about his ability to move his left tackle here.
I'll take the first part, and I'll let Mike take the right to left, or Will, however y'all want to do that. But yes, we had, when we made a conscientious look-see into it when we were fielding the trades, and it happened with Detroit that we were, going to have 4 players go, and certainly at that point, we had 5 players were going to get picked, and we had 4 up there we really liked, and so we felt good about making the trade. Now it's tense, waiting, and there's no question you're taking some risks there. You're believing in your board, and you're having patience, and certainly that paid off for us. And we were wanting to accomplish certainly with some of the good offensive linemen that we felt were worthy, of a first-round pick. It was great to get that done and pick up a pick, which we were really wanting to do in this particular draft because, where it has depth and where we think we can get good players. You might talk about
Yeah, definitely. I think with Tyler playing the right side, I think we all understand, because I know, particularly you, Clarence, the in-depth study that you do in your draft process that, they have a left-handed quarterback in Oklahoma, so he is the backside tackle. So that'll definitely be an easy transition for him as far as the responsibility of playing the backside of the quarterback. And I just, it's just like anything, it's footwork, and there's things going to be new anyways. But God, what a great pick for us, and just just to feel his enthusiasm and passion on the phone, and the excitement of being a Cowboys fan, and just to fit, and Austin, Texas native, and all that. So this is a great add to our offensive line room.
Well, go, won't you?
I mean, when you build an offensive lineman, you look for athleticism, the feet, the ability to, we've got a history of having guys that do things at a high level at that position, and there are some traits that definitely showed us that was there. And you talk about the athletic ability. And left tackles are usually your more athletic, and this guy is an athletic guy and basketball background, some defense in his nature, so the way that he plays the game will add something to us as well.
You would hope, it's hard to do with offensive linemen, you would hope to have a little sexiness to this pick using your first-round pick. And I actually thought we had that with Tyler Smith 2 years ago. I think we got it here. This is a sexy pick for an offensive lineman because it's got a lot of upside. And so I'm excited about that.
Stephen Archer with ESPN. How much, when you were looking at the positions, if Barton's a guy you liked, that it was the premium position of a tackle versus the center there that helped make the decision to maybe move down?
Well, we had a big discussion about that, and certainly Barton, he's not our guy now. We can't really talk about him, kidding. But, no, he was certainly a guy that was one of those guys in that list of players that we felt like, if he were there, we'd still be happy, to get one of them. And so, obviously, but to get the left tackle is a big, big deal. And I know, we had these same discussions with Larry Allen when he was here because he would have been a great left tackle, all-pro, Hall of Famer at left tackle or left guard. Certainly Tyler, played really at a high elite type level at guard, and this certainly allows him to kind of entrench there. And, that's certainly up to the coach, Mike and his staff. But, feel good now that we can move Guyton out there and have Tyler stay where he is. And obviously we still got a lot of picks and a lot of work to do still in terms of improving this football team.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. Stephen, you kind of alluded to this recently, but, kind of the evolution of the offensive line. You've lost starters over the last several years, and this kind of puts the spotlight on it again. How do you feel about the way this line is evolving over time and where you all are with that as you kind of move forward?
As we add to that, you look at the young group, that we have there that will be pushing these guys. And I take a look at guys like Willetsko and Awesome Richards and Ball and TJ Bass and Hoffman. And then you put Chuma, who's a good veteran up there at tackle and has proven he can go in, and play, give you a winning performance to win a football game. This thing's shaping up pretty good. And like I said, we still have a lot of picks to improve this team. But you're right. You can't, I think if you look around the league, you can't do what we did when Dak was young, which is probably pay 3 offensive linemen top dollar. You've got to keep evolving and keep bringing young players along. And, it's a tough deal because we think the world of Tyler Biadasz. We thought a lot of Connor McGovern and a lot of Connor Williams. But, at some point you got to make tough decisions. And if you keep drafting and keep bringing these young guys in, then they can step up and you can afford to make those tough decisions. Now, you also get a little reward back when they get paid because you get compensatory picks, which allow you to keep adding to what you have.
We looked at interest. I did when the Jets took the tackle, and there they are. They just signed Tyron, yet they took a first-round tackle. And so therein lies when you look at it where you were, you need to make sure that if you have a chance to, bolster up out there at talent at that left tackle for now and in the future.
John Michaud with The Athletic. For Will, when did you kind of first, I guess, Tyler Guyton catch your eye, maybe stood out to you in the pre-draft process? And then also, why do you think that you guys have had success with the first-round offensive lineman?
Well, Tyler stuck out, I think it was during the season, but the guys that went into the school were talking about the athletic ability and all that. We went to the Senior Bowl and got to see more and then visited with him more to find out more what he was all about. The unique part about this draft to me is that, there's a bunch of offensive linemen that can contribute at some point in time somewhere, and the tackle premium was unique, and a guy that can play the way that he does. And again, feeling good about him moving to the left side. That was, and the way he plays the game. There's a little nasty to him. Sure, they've all got to grow and learn. But playing at Oklahoma with that coach and what he's learned, and then spending time talking to the coach over the time and finding more out about the kid, you feel really comfortable about that. And the athleticism and all that stuff is there. And then the offensive line is, we get players that have attributes we feel like we know what it takes to pick a good lineman. The thing is the work ethic and them being able to do that. And then coaches that are willing to work with guys that are young guys instead of, saying I need to have a vet. I appreciate the fact that the coaching staff will say, here's a young guy, we put him in and give him an opportunity to earn the stripes.
Gentlemen, Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. And this question is kind of dovetailing off of what you're saying, Will, as far as what attracted you guys to Tyler Guyton. I'll pivot this to McCarthy. So, Mike, When it comes to Tyler Guyton, obviously you've coached a long time in this league. Are there any previous player comps that Tyler Guyton kind of reminds you of coming into the league?
Well, I think just like anything, I mean, the first thing you look at is the length and, being 6'7" and has great feet. And I just go back to, the first 6'7" tackle that was around was John Alt, and ironically his son Joe was, drafted by the Chargers. So, and I think there's a lot to it, but gosh, I mean, you got to be so excited about his athletic ability. I mean, you can see it in his footwork, and that was evident really from day one with Will and the scouts, and when you have the preliminary reads, before you go out there. And I know Mike Solari, going up to Oklahoma, was very impressed with his work out, and obviously the feedback from the Oklahoma coaches was extremely high. So, but yeah, I haven't had too many tackles over 6'5", 6'6". So different body type than John Alt back in the 90s.
Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News. You guys have made a lot of emphasis and continued emphasis on improving your run game. Can you focus on that aspect of where is Tyler in terms of that part of it? That's my first of two questions.
Tyler Guyton?
Yes. Oh, yeah. How does it improve your run game? Along with just obviously keeping Tyler at left guard, but Tyler Guyton at left tackle, what does he bring in the run game?
Well, Michael, we like to get him through rookie orientation first before we put the pressure on him about our run game. No, he'll do great in the run game, because I mean, I think just like anything, our schemes fit our players, and I think that's why it's important. The staff takes January, February, and March. We've gone through this now, and now we're concept teaching with the players that are here, but. I've done it every year. There's players that you're going to acquire in the draft that you got to make sure that there's a place for them, and if you need to tweak anything, you do. So we got a number of picks left, and whatever we got to tweak and adjust, we will. But I think he'll be able to do everything we ask of him here.
In his football experience, he was kind of a late arrival there, which is consistent with some other players you guys have taken in recent drafts. Mm-hmm. What's the pros, cons to? I'm sure it represents the potential of maybe the player being closer to his floor than his ceiling. But how do you view it, and are there any negatives that come with it, or what are the positives?
I think they're all. You're good. Yeah, good. That's fine. Mike, go ahead. Yeah, I mean they're all positive. I think you answered the question in your opinion. The ceiling. I mean, he's got a tremendous ceiling, and to me as a coach, I mean, if that doesn't excite you to coach, then you need to do something else. So we're about developing these young players. We're draft and develop is a baseline for us. Your youth has to step up and play early than ever in this league. It's a young man's game, and this is another great example. So I think as a coach, we're excited about all the promise and that he has in front of him. I mean, the 14 starts to me is a positive. It's not a knock against him. It just shows, all these kids, more than ever with the NIL and the portals, more than ever, do these players take different paths and different courses, and there's different thresholds and directions that they go. So I think it's important for us to look at the potential, and we feel strongly about how our offensive line room is, and he'll be a great fit in there. And so this young man has a very high ceiling, as you said.
And if they're athletic, have the work ethic that you need, and they're willing to learn, I mean, that's an opportunity to grow and improve. You get in college football, they're not playing football the way you do in the NFL all the time, so you got to be able to teach them, and you got to be able to do that. So they got to want to do it, and they got to have the ability to do it. So I think that's one of the things too, is you got to be athletic enough, and you got to have the work ethic and the willingness and the mental capabilities to handle this. And so we feel like going through that with Guyton gives us an opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Well, left tackle, position flex is a great trait. Position flex, many positions, but a left tackle needs to really be able to get man in terms of sliding his feet and have that length on those arms to do the protection. Most offensive linemen relish getting to run block. That's when you get to give it out. It is the skill of keeping them off that quarterback, and this guy has those long arms and that basketball type fluidness and those being able to shuffle that feet out here. It's a sexy pick.
Saki's at The Athletic. Jerry and Stephen, the other day you guys were mentioning that trading back would mean that taking a look at your board, but also what kind of offers you guys got. So when the phones were going were you guys looking at accumulating more picks, the highest pick that you could get in the third, fourth round, whatever? Just what were the conversations like when you were trying to trade back?
I can start. The biggest thing was not to go back too far. I mean, we kind of knew we had a group of players there that we were still going to walk away and be very fired up, regardless of which player fell to us. I mean, we love Tyler, but, there were others, as long as we walked away with one of those. So the biggest thing, and we did have a lot of different options and opportunities, but the fact that we only had to move back, to the 29th pick, was a big influence, not to mention the fact that you pick up the third-round pick with doing that, made it even more enticing to pull the trigger. And so, I think that was probably the most important thing. We didn't want to move out of the first round, and that was very important to us. And we had a couple options there that you didn't move out of the first round, because we felt like that's where you still get a first-round type player in terms of what we had left on our board.
You need something special to happen to be within hitting distance of where we're picking for the phone to light up. And that happened. The defensive pass rusher was there. And so, boy, that phone started lighting up, and clubs started looking at how to get up there and get that. And it wasn't the biggest fire sale I've ever seen, but it was nice enough to effectively get what we hoped would happen, and that is have some serious opportunity left on the board, yet be able to come down and get us those extra pick. We don't have the 4, so we wanted to pick the pickup. Well, sure enough, that pass rusher dropped down there, and most thought that was too low, and the phone started lighting up. And it's when they start lighting and coming to you is when you have time, when you can do some business. And that's happened. That happened. That happened.
Sounds obvious. The only thing better than the 4 is getting a 3. So
that's right.
When you're considering those other picks that could be coming, I mean, are you looking at, can you get multiple of later rounds, or are you trying to get as high as you can in terms of getting that third round pick?
I think it's the full body of work when you look at that. I mean, multiple picks could have worked. Obviously, the higher you get, I think in any draft you get a more quality. If you just look at it, a more quality player. You look at this draft, being in that third round area, being in that fourth round area. Not that there aren't some really good football players in the fifth round that you can find in there, but anytime you can get that pick up and get into, those first 2 days of picks, that certainly influences. What direction you're going to go. But we certainly also look at multiple picks and knowing that, sometimes one player or getting 3 players versus 1 player can be a better deal as well. So, you have to just look at the, the full body of the trade and make the decision.
This is a good draft to have middle round picks. This is where this draft is shaped and what have you. I'll show you our draft board. What do you say?
It's your board.
But seriously, this is a good one, and we were a little naked when we looked at it and didn't have that 4th round pick. This is a good one to have those picks there.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com for Mike and or Will. From your conversations with Tyler, whether it be at the Combine or Senior Bowl, what did you take away from that, whether it be on the board watching film or just evaluating him as a person that made you feel comfortable with this pick? And then Jerry and Stephen, were there any preliminary conversations with Detroit going into the draft?
I mean, yeah, my first exposure was the Zoom because I was at the Combine, but I love his personality. I enjoyed his story. I think that anything like these young men, I mean, their path and what they go through, I think it's important. It tells you where their foundation is and what you have to build on too. So, I mean, Will can go into, I know the visits at Oklahoma, everything was very, very positive. And I just keep going to upside and ceiling and excitement, because obviously the gifts that he has physically, he's definitely a profile pick for us at left tackle.
And to me, when you go through this process, we talk about it all the time. There's X number of players that are in the draft, and they're going, okay, so now you're not going to be able to spend time with every one of them. So where are you at, and which guys do you need to find out more about? Which guys do you want to get in front of the coaches? Which guys do you want to find out if they can learn, whatever? And you go through and we pick out if it's at the combine, at the formal meeting, can we get him in for a 30? Can we get a coach to go work out? Whatever we can do to increase our exposure to that player to know who he is, to get a better feel for him fitting into our environment.
For Jerry and Stephen, were there any preliminary conversations with Detroit going into the draft about a potential opportunity if it were to arise?
Actually, they were probably one of the later offers as we were moving toward our pick. The conversations start to heat up once teams see that, hey, their guy may be there. So, 2 picks out, 1 pick out, you're starting to get calls. Detroit's call didn't actually come till we were on the clock.
We had 4 trades working here at the same time.
Yeah, it was fun.
4, and coming in and going back, giving us more. That kind of deal. All of them active trades going on all at the same time on the clock.
Kevin Sherrington, Dallas Morning News. Will, the last 4 first rounders that you've made picks in the offensive line have all been a pretty formative bunch. Where does Tyler's potential rank among them?
I think I saw where we had picked 5 players in the first round, and counting this one, and all of them have been Pro Bowlers. So we do good when we're in the first round.
Yeah, and I think it's, when you get an opportunity to pick someone with those tools, I think we've got somewhat of a proven history and kind of what we're looking for, and then to have that opportunity to do it, and not, like Mike said, we hadn't even put pads on, but we think that there's an opportunity because of his skill set, spending that time with him, understanding what he's all about, that he can achieve, and we're putting him in a room with people that will teach him how to be a pro and improve as well.
Garrett Cordell, CBS Sports. Mike, what experience do you have? Are there any specific examples of moving a player from one side of the line to the other? And what specifically are some of the challenges of flipping around your footwork?
The biggest thing is, footwork. We moved Tyron from left tackle to right tackle. Was at 22, so that's recent. Moved Brian Balaga from right tackle to left tackle. Moved Josh Sitton from right guard to left guard, and he gave the best description of the difficulty of going from right guard to left guard, because it's like wiping your ass with the opposite hand. So that was his way of telling me, he wasn't real excited about the move. So
you're taking my spot on these.
Oh, sorry about that.
On these colorful illustrations. Don't be doing that.
Yeah.
Tyron
Smith was a right tackle too.
Yeah, there you go.
Tyler Smith.
Yeah, when he came
Tyron
out,
Smith, right tackle, moved him left tackle. Southern Cal.
Jerry, the other day you told us you wanted to see some more leaves fall when it comes to some of these contracts. Since we talked to you, a couple of receiver deals have come through. What are your thoughts on what you've seen happen with those 2 contracts to Amon-Ra St. Brown and what Philadelphia do with AJ?
Yeah, I haven't had time to think about them in terms of, I saw the same ones you saw today with Philadelphia, I guess. But bottom line is I haven't had time to think about them, but that's exactly what I was talking about. That especially in those receivers now, nobody was moving too fast to get involved. Now, I just don't care to or even will express any thoughts about the contract at that time or the impact of the contract. But so they all impact, though.
This is for Will, Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. A lot of times you guys bring guys in for 30 visits and you draft them. Was all the the pre-visit work with him at the combine, was that enough for you guys in your mind to say we don't need a fan?
No, we continued it. And the thing that's great about our coaches and our scouts, when we find out the guys that, they may have an opportunity, we go through the meetings and we battle it out. And if the coaches like them and we like them, we got to find out more about them. And just every opportunity to spend that time with them, made us feel more comfortable with doing that. And, the guy that, we feel like that he is, picking him.
One more for Jerry and Stephen. How would you guys characterize your discussions with Zeke's agent yesterday?
We spent a lot of time with Zeke yesterday. Stephen did.
Yeah.
And then we had some. We had a good visit with him.
We just
at dinner
bumped into one another.
We bumped
Decided
in
to
last night with the
visit a little bit.
He visited and gave his opinion on the draft. Visit when we had our annual scouting meeting. He came in and joined us all, and his agent, and we thoroughly browbeat him. But seriously, we did see a lot of Zeke yesterday, but it was a combination of being over at D's and our whole group over there, as well as Stephen's personal.
Well, Zeke's, as we all know, is one of our favorites.
Yes.
I mean, he's laid it on the line for this franchise. He's the ultimate competitor. He's the guy that we obviously think a lot of. And it was good to run into him and Rocky. And, we just had a little beer and moved on.
We don't have any issue. He's laid it on the line for the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys have laid it on the line for Zeke. This is one that you can smile when you see each other.
Michael. You guys are projected to have 4 compensatory picks in 2025. You were able to deal a 7th-round pick to kind of complete that deal tonight. How much does having those compensatory picks give you some flexibilities to complete a trade like that and potentially even have a little bit more movement tomorrow or the day to follow?
Yeah, I think it's always helpful. I mean, that's the point. You do get a return when you lose the Connors and the Biotiches, and you get a return on that because you do get picks back. And especially hats off to Tyler in terms of what he did for us. He busted his ass and played great football for us, and then hardly seems fair that you get a pick back too, but we'll take it. And but he's that's certainly important. And when you do have those compensatories, which is the way it should work. I mean, we lose guys, we get some picks back, and we're able to replenish it and move forward. And certainly when we as an organization, we feel like we've done pretty good in drafts. And so when you get the picks, you feel more confident that when you have to, lose some of these guys, which I can tell you, losing a Tyler, losing a Dorrance, losing guys like that, it's not pleasant. I mean, these are guys who lay it on the line for you. They're great football players, but, that's part of our business, and that's the tough part of it. But we also feel confident when we do get these picks that we can have success in our drafts and have young guys come in that make a difference.
And when we spoke with Tyler Guyton a little bit ago, he said one of the things that makes him most excited about this whole thing is that he gets to block beside Tyler Smith and just how physical a player he is. For you guys to be able to pair 2 young linemen like that with the ceilings that they have, is that part of the excitement that y'all share as well?
TNT, man, you're here first. Yeah, definitely. No, I think that I don't even know why I said that, but it's late. What time is it? I mean,
You've been drinking my.
No, I need to start. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, Germans bar Pearl Harbor too.
Both of them have Texas base, but Oklahoma players.
Yeah, Oklahoma guys.
A lot of commonality.
All right, Kirk. Yeah, Jerry or Steve, Kurt Bowles from the Austin American Statesman. I was curious if you could give some kind of assessment about Jonathan Brooks as an NFL prospect and how his recovery is coming from ACL surgery.
In my 30 years, I thought it was the best interview that I've ever interviewed with a player. He's outstanding, and he's just outstanding. And he's a great football player. We got him high, and he's a good player.
Show him the board.
Well, I got it in here.
Stephen, you want to add anything to that?
No, I would echo Jerry's thoughts. I mean, the guy, I got to sit with him as well. He's outstanding, and certainly I think he's working his, tail off to get that knee. He's good friends with our guy, Overshown, And so I think they're taking notes on each other's knees and how they're coming along, and they're competitive like that. But he's like Jerry said, he's one hell of a football player and was having a great year for Texas. It's unfortunate, that he had the knee injury, but after visiting with him, you're betting on him.
He's a tough year. He lost his daddy and of course hurt his knee, and that's obviously one of the roughest times of being in athletics is coming off an injury. But he's a good player.
And one of several great players that are still left in this draft.